Hello, my name is Mark Hobart, and together with my colleague Cola here, we're going to present the test video number 13, God's Alphabet, DNA, and its relationship to catastrophic thinking. The Caveat Mind is available on YouTube. I am a catastrophist and a professor of doom. What we're looking at here is strategic assets. It's a very important concept in policy formation. There's hopefully my search motto someday, Mutare Fatum, which is change fate. The nuclear references that I'll be referring to include nuclear power's global expansion weighing its costs and benefits, risks, or the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, Non-Proliferation Treaty. The other references are displayed here. And the purpose of catastrophic thinking is to formulate public policies that will guide us through catastrophes, usually by recognizing them before they happen. And that includes strategic vulnerability, systemic vulnerabilities and strategic assets like the knowledge of the advanced sciences. What I'm going to talk about here is what I'm afraid of, which is God's alphabet. It's only 4 letters long, and with those 4 letters, God writes out the secret of life itself in your DNA. There's also sometimes a 5th letter, U, for the RNA. Before we look at the actual knowledge that's being potentially abused, let's look back at history at another way we mishandled knowledge in the strategic past, and that was the nuclear proliferation. World War II, Einstein warned FDR of Hitler's research for the atomic bomb, which led to the Manhattan Project, which led to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Then Russia gets the bomb a few years later, and the Rosenbergs were one of the leaks that led to the easy acquisition of the atomic bomb worldwide. Then in 1968, the civilization almost recognized that this was a threat, brought about the Nuclear Weapons Treaty of 1968, sponsored by the United Nations. It was projected at that time that 25 to 30 more nations would acquire nuclear weapons. The treaty bargain was that signatories without weapons would not acquire nuclear weapons if nuclear powers shared benefits of peaceful nuclear technology and eventual disarmament. But it was a little too late. It was ratified by 190 nations. There's 5 of them that are nuclear powers: USA, UK, France, USSR, now Russia, and China. And the others have been withdrawing to obtain their nuclear weapons. North Korea has already, and Iran is ostensibly. 4 non-parties did not ratify the treaty: Israel, India, Pakistan, South Sudan, because of existing hostilities. The lessons and weaknesses of the Non-Proliferation Treaty was that it had no enforcement mechanism. It was too easy in the future for nations to weaponize their nuclear knowledge that they acquired peacefully. Existing superpowers with nuclear weapons can increase their arsenals and continue research, and nuclear knowledge is freely exported to non-nuclear nations for peaceful purposes. Today's challenge, we are once again faced with a problem of advanced biological research, this time instead of nuclear research. This time we're messing with God's knowledge, the knowledge about life itself, which is contained in your DNA. God's alphabet, that we're learning how to read the ACGT that God used to spell out life itself, based on amino acids and proteins, which is what you are made of, what I'm made of. The secret is in the DNA. God's alphabet. Identifying the danger. We're paying far too little attention to the moral and ethical issues related to this new knowledge of organic chemistry and biochemistry. Like nuclear knowledge, this knowledge can be weaponized, as advanced knowledges are. It will be the death of us all. Unlike nuclear knowledge, there won't be a massive explosion or a fallout to get our attention. one of the scariest things I ever read was about SV40 in the book Scientific Blunders. There it is. Especially on, about, what is it, page... It was genetic research done by Nobel Prize winner Paul Berg. And what they were doing was experimenting with cancer cells and combining them with bacterium like E. coli, which is everywhere. If this escapes the lab, you will have SV40 cancers replicating in step with E. coli, was somebody. And science is the pursuit of knowledge by people. Same flaws in scientists that are in all of us. Too much deference to science. Recently we had politicians say, follow the science. You can't object to vaccines and things like that. And read, before you say, oh yeah, this is, you need to follow the science. Read Scientific Blunders, a brief history of how scientists can sometimes be wrong. They created, the American National Institutes of Health created official guidelines to limit this research. It's not enforceable in the rest of the world. So can you think of a dangerous virus accidentally released by overseas labs that are not subject to the official guidelines of the American National Institutes of Health? Duh. Knowledge and research is strategic. The American medical establishment, academia, wants to share research worldwide. The difference between the medical research they're doing now is because it can save lives. Well, it also can be weaponized. And we don't even see it. What's so insidious about advanced biological research is that it looks harmless and beneficial. Star Wars and clones. I saw the movie Star Wars, and as I was watching it the first time, I noticed that all the Empire Star Troopers were the same size and build and wore white armor, despite the wide diversity of life in the movie. Later movies explain that the Emperor's army was made of clones, and that created an ethical issue. Humans must address cloning now. Human bodies, whether made in the laboratory or the bedroom, are receptacles for separate sentient life. Each clone has its own life experiences. Each clone has its own memories, its own free will. Cloning, as portrayed in Star Wars, had soldiers who all looked alike, but they didn't, and while they didn't have a freedom to be themselves, they were cloned to be soldiers. They were preordained to be soldiers. And whoever invests in cloning nowadays is going to claim ownership of the resulting human clones, because how else would the great costs of the research be recovered? That makes us slaveholders. If we continue to experiment to produce human clones without rights, before it is too late, we must protect clone rights. The United Nations needs to ban human cloning. We're playing with God's alphabet, and we're playing God when we mess with DNA and life itself. There are known and unknown risks. We cannot imagine what can go wrong. We need policymakers that can anticipate the unimaginable. We need to implement oversight and prevent secret experimentation, because this is going to lead to a catastrophe. It's a scary future, even worse than SV40. And can scientists be trusted? Well, read the book Hitler's Scientists by John Cornwell, published in 2003. The benefits are great, and DNA mapping to cure genetic disorders, and birth defects, but the risks are greater. Recombinant DNA research for biological weapons. And I recently read a book, an article, The Coming Threat of a Genetically Engineered Ethnic Bioweapon. There you go. That's in the National Review. That's the sort of thing that needs to be prevented. Anything classified or top secret or restricted or for your own eyes only needs oversight and audits and protocols like the American National Institutes of Health. I'm afraid of our own military, but our military must do this kind of research because the Russians and the Chinese militaries are. Worst of all, to me, is the chimeras. In Greek mythology, it was a fire-breathing monster with a lion's head, a goat's body, and a serpent tail. Some have them with wings. In modern science, tissues or organisms with DNA from two living creatures are being spliced together. Lions and tigers are one thing. Splicing human DNA into anything living or plant is too amazingly bad to anticipate. We're already doing this. And the thing is, when you start messing with human DNA into animals, those diseases, the viruses and bacterium, will pick up that human DNA, convert themselves, and make the jump from animal infections to human infections. We've seen it before, haven't we? All knowledge is a strategic asset. Basic education is more valuable when it is available worldwide, but it is advanced knowledge. It is advanced knowledge, like nuclear technology and biological research, which must be restricted to nations and peoples with the wisdom and maturity to access it. It's already too late. We have to identify the systemic vulnerabilities and strategic assets and prevent them from spreading to the rest of the world. We need a nuclear non-proliferation treaty for cloning and recombinant DNA. The human species is a systemic vulnerability. And then the appendix. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Essential concepts. And there's trademark copyright. And I will end every video with the same way, with a prayer